I'm in the member lounge at the Art Institute of Chicago, and it is mid-April, but it feels like summer. It's 79 degrees outside and sunny, and the energy is incredible. I'm a big fan of summer in April. So far. A little too hot, actually. That's the thing about Chicago is once the weather gets pretty warm, people complain that it's too warm. And when it's too cold, people complain it's too cold. Humans are never satisfied, are they? But today, I'm coming here. It's a cool space. They just reopened this, the member lounge. They used to have it kind of on the ground level, and they used to have this cafe area that would go outside, and there'd be this like fountain and these umbrellas and tables and chairs. It was really cool. This is more, that had more of a, 19th century impression, whereas this feels definitely more contemporary. The white, the gray, the wood, the minimal design. But how about this? This view is pretty great. Just a massive view of Michigan Avenue and the buildings and architecture. Really cool. So I'm, this opened maybe like 3 weeks ago, so I'm, testing it out. Having a lot of fun in the meantime, free coffee, tea, pretty great. Today I thought we would spontaneously just go through some notes in my notebook, some observations. Now I take this notebook with me everywhere. I travel with notebooks all the time, whether it's this size, whether it's a smaller size. In the morning, I have one that's quite large that I journal in, and I just go around, make observations and notes. I try to capture what is on my mind right now, immediately, because if I don't write it down, I'm going to forget it. And something that kind of disappoints me about living in the time that we live in, the 21st century, is that I can't record my actual thought in my head, right? I have to physically write it down. The technology isn't there yet. It's the bane of my existence. I would love to be able to look at something and then capture it with my mind and have it go to a central storage place externally. Some people are afraid of that, but I just see beauty everywhere, and I think every action I take, every moment I experience is something significant, because it's quite miraculous that we're living here right now on planet Earth. It's incredible. Why would you not want to celebrate that all the time? Human experience. Anyways, let's go into the notebook. Let's open it to a random page and see what we wrote down. Okay. This is okay, this is January 31st, and February 2nd. Okay. All right, so here's a little note. We wrote, "We only know if we test." And this is referring to kind of digital media marketing. That's kind of an area I struggle with, is marketing. I'm trying to get better at it. To me, it's the organization of it all. I feel kind of overwhelmed, and it's so tedious. You don't really think about how you have to go through and then organize, say, in folders, a picture and themes, and you should post something for marketing purposes, but from the knowing to the actual completion of it, that's where I kind of get lost, kind of the how. anyways. And I can overthink it quite a bit. So I wrote down, we only know if we test. Here's something I also wrote. It's all about file organization. This is kind of my central thesis for living in the 21st century. I don't know, that's quite a statement. I would say this is certainly one of the things. We live in this world now. We live in two worlds now, a physical world and a digital world. And one must navigate both spaces with grace and humility and a sense of humor and fun, joy, right? And I'm fine. This goes back to what we just discussed, right? We only know if we test, and organizing the how, right? File organization is such a underrated skill to possess. So I've done pretty well video-wise, and the things that we record for the podcast and other people's content that I help create, and even my own with photos. And I also take photographs. Do people say photographs anymore? Of each notebook page, and I upload it to a file in the cloud. And I think being able to, one, back up your physical material and then organize it in a way that's easily accessible is an incredible skill and talent that people don't talk about enough right now, but I'm sure more and more people will discuss it in the future. Okay. Here's a good one. Independent creators are data analysts. I had a conversation with the guys in Bone Lane about this, and this is something they said is like, not a lot of people understand that like being an independent artist is really about being a data analyst. You know, you put stuff out, you observe, okay, what's the data say? What is the measurables? I think that's quite interesting because when people think of creators, they think of, and maybe this is me kind of projecting, but kind of aloof, abstract, maybe sometimes flamboyant, aloof, and not necessarily disciplined and data-driven. So it's an interesting contradiction, right? Okay, let's go to the next page. This is February 2nd. Met with my tax guy. I thought it was February 1st. So February 1st, I show up to the meeting. I got all my stuff ready. And I go on the Zoom meeting. And it's like, oh, your host isn't here yet. It took me about 5 minutes to then realize, oh, it's tomorrow. But the good thing is I uploaded all my files then on time. That's got to be something that drives tax preparers nuts, is people not uploading their files according to the guidelines, which is at least 48 hours in advance, so that they can look through them and then kind of, you know, mentally or actually physically place them in places they need to put them to prepare. This was a huge day. This was probably one of the most. This was the most monumental day of 2023 for me so far. And there's a number of reasons why, but I changed the name of my company I hated it. I hated the name before. It was 3 words. And I think that's terrible to have 3 words. So I shortened it to 1, a new word that I made up. And we filed the paperwork during our meeting and took care of it. But just something so simple like that provided so much clarity. Everything just became just kind of like just lined up. And it's interesting how when something like that happens, your mind just starts to organize itself with such little effort. It's amazing. So change the name, now all of a sudden everything is kind of clear and the path is beautiful. I have no other words to say, to insert there. So we changed the name. I went for a walk, and then on this walk, all of a sudden, things just started falling into place, and these realizations were happening. A big realization I haven't really disclosed yet. The mind is so interesting. It is all a matter of the mind. The mind. I've been working on redesigning my mind since September. And it's remarkable. Everything in life, everything of your life, say, and your external circumstances is all a product of your mind. The external reflects the internal. And so your mind is the source of everything you experience. So you need to make sure that it's operating in its most optimal way, like the best it can, with the knowledge that we know about human psychology and history. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can learn from other people and then kind of mold and shape your mind how you want it to operate based on the results you want or the external circumstances. So that's been a work in progress, and this day, February 2nd, was really the day that I realized all that work I had been doing until this point, like, worked, right? You do something daily and it's tedious and it's annoying. Well, it can be annoying. I suppose the trick is to enjoy it, enjoy the process. But you're going through this process, this learning, this growing process, and it can be frustrating because you want the results immediately, of course. But you just got to put your head down and do it. And then there's these moments like this where everything just falls into place and everything just is beautiful then. And so I've been building on top of that. But this was certainly the day. Here's some other notes I wrote. A wave of AI is coming. It's already here, but what I mean is AI will be implemented more and more into our daily lives, and it will be just, you'll be unable to separate it and experience it as a part of your life. One of my friends changed his opinion on AI recently. So I wrote that, flipped completely on AI. I wrote, talk to a lot of people in AI and science. And so we had Matza on the podcast to talk about AI and physics. So that was one of the results from this, the actions that we took. I wrote barefoot, socks, and shoes. So this was when I was in the Bone Lane studio. And I thought it was interesting. I observed that I wear shoes all the time except when I'm sleeping. To me, there's like a psychology behind it where I have like indoor shoes and outdoor shoes, and then I'll have indoor athletic shoes and then outdoor athletic shoes. Outdoor meaning outside of my apartment door. And they're actually the same pairs. I buy multiple ones. And I wear those inside. So I'll bring my indoor shoes over to places. So we're in the studio. I'm wearing shoes. Sammy is barefoot, and Bones is wearing socks. And I thought that was interesting. The three of us are all wearing different or not wearing. Like our foot. Our, what do you call it? Our appendage. I don't know. Yeah. So this was a good day. I think this might have been February 3rd, actually. I've been getting better at dating and locating these. I'll write down the date. I'll do like a slash in the notebook, date it, where I'm at. So I did write it in the studio here, but I didn't date it. Unless if it's the same date. Anyways, here's some, now we get on a roll. Here's a note I wrote. Need to figure it out. Period. Clear system data on phones. Yeah, that's something I need to do yet. Art and science together. Merge art and science together. Input, output. Colder or warmer. Benjamin Clementine. Look for kinds of sounds you like. For the future. Here's a good one. Understanding and being okay with what you are, a human being living with acceptance. Some of these can be pretty deep. Other ones are very abstract. It's kind of coordinated or like coded where only I can really understand some of these things because I don't get too specific. But I know personally. All right, here's something I wrote. It's the caffeine. Cut back. But how? Change the lighting. You bond because you experience a culture. This is something I wrote in regard to us going to go to Mexico City coming up when this was written. And it's interesting how when you travel somewhere, you create kind of a bond with that place and that culture. And if there are people around, say you meet other people that also took a trip to this place or live there for a little bit, there's this initial or like automatic bond already. And I think that's a really cool thing. But these are just some things I wrote down and just ideas. I capture what's in my head, and then we review them at a later point in time. The area of improvement is to review this more consistently and build it into my week set aside a time and just go through these. Something I struggle with is these little things. These little things, these tedious things. Because what I want to do is just go out and have adventures all the time. And it's the details. The details. So that was our notes review.